Hey, we're live. Oh, here. I hit that button and my name show up. It's amazing. Today is the 23rd of September, 2021. My name is Sean Shapiro. This is Auxiliary PC Amanda MacDonald, and we're going to be talking about child passengers safety. What's the official term?
Child passengers work. My title is Child Passenger Safety Technician.
Okay, that sounds official. Before we get into that, we're going to chat about the business that we always talk about before we go live with our favorite topics, and that is Vision Zero Enforcement Team. Today they are in. Oh, I hit the button, then Brandon hit the button. 23 Division and 42 Division. If you don't know what the Vision Zero Enforcement Team is all about, I'll give you a quick little rundown. They're a dedicated group of officers that focus on the big four. Those are the serious behaviors that lead to serious injuries and death on our roadways: speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired driving. And by focusing on those, they hope to reduce the chance of serious injury and death on our roads. It's a great thing that they're doing. They're doing a fantastic job at it, and recently acknowledged for the hard work that they do by the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police. So that's pretty awesome. Now, if you don't know where your division is, if you don't know where you are in relation to where we are, following the link that we have on the screen will bring you to a global map. It'll tell you where everybody lives in terms of police stations and where our officers will be deployed. Now, this group of officers, the Vision Zero Enforcement Team, that I didn't say properly this time, where are they? Well, they are augmenting the good work that divisional officers do every day. They're just putting more boots on the ground to focus on those efforts. So great job. If you don't want to meet them, don't break the law, and you're all set. So Amanda, it's a special week.
It is. It's Child Passenger Safety Week, both in Canada and the US.
That's amazing. And it's really targeting education and discussion about a topic that's important. It's our little ones, the most vulnerable of our road users. So it's really important. I'm glad that we do this every year. What is the focused message? What do you want to tell people about it?
So the general focus message for these is that your child may not be in the right seat. So not every seat is going to be the perfect seat for every child in every vehicle. And when we've done roadside stops with things like it's almost like a ride stop, but we're checking for car seats, we find that on average, it's about 80 to 90% of car seats either are not installed properly or they're not the right seat for that child.
So what's the best way to get the information so that you're doing it right?
So the first thing to look at is always the manual that comes with your car seat. The manufacturer who made your seat, they want to make sure that your seat is being used correctly, because that's the only way that child's going to be staying safe. Beyond that, you can connect with technicians. So in Canada, you can go to CIPSAC. They do have a Find a Tech map. And so you can connect with a certified technician in your area. And a lot of times right now they're doing virtual appointments, but we are starting to get more clinics and in-person meetings as kind of COVID goes on there. And so they'll be able to meet with you, check your seat, make sure your little one fits it properly, make sure that you know how to use it, because it can be a good seat for your child, but if you don't know how to use it properly, it's not going to be able to do its job.
It's not one of those things that I can just sort of figure it out as I go. How complicated can they be?
They're not necessarily complicated if you think of them the right way. So a lot of people think of car seats as, they're just holding the child in place so that they don't bug me in the car, or fashion accessories at times. But you have to think of them as a life-saving device. This is the piece of equipment that is going to save your child's life if there is a collision. And so just like you wouldn't want to use, a defibrillator or anything like that if you didn't know how, you don't want to use a car seat without knowing how it works too.
That makes sense. Now we have a question from Craft Boys 1. When can a child sit in the front seat? And by the way, we're live on the internet, and if you ask questions, we will answer them live.
Yeah, so there's a bit of a mixed answer for this. One is, it's not necessarily the front seat that's dangerous, it's the airbag. So in situations where the airbag can be turned off or there isn't an airbag, the answer does change a little bit. Other than that, we really want kids staying in the back seat until they're over 13. What this has to do with is puberty, so it's not size based. You may have a 10-year-old who's very big, but their bones are the size of a 10-year-old. We want to make sure they're old enough and have gone far enough through puberty, that their bones can handle the force of that airbag deploying, because it's not meant for a child. It's meant for an adult, and even adults can get injured in these collisions.
I am trying to find a picture of a once upon a time. Where'd it go? Here we go. I got to share this with everyone. It is a old school. Let's see here. Can I do this? How do I open this? Oh, I want to share my screen. That's what I want to do. Okay, hang on a second. Here we go. Oh, that's some great. Somebody's cutting something. So apparently, for only $1.88 way back when from Sears, you were able to get this child restraint system. Are you saying that's no longer the best of the best?
No, preferably not. So this really was a restraint. This was designed to stop your little one from roaming the vehicle. It wasn't for safety. Like you have your parent driving, and they don't want that kid, roaming around that vehicle and bugging them. So, let's tie them down. Really, you're tying them down in that case.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist sharing that. It was sent to me on Facebook by one of my friends, and this was the ultimate opportunity to share with you. Yeah, so we've come a long way, and the technology that goes into these seats is sometimes on par with race car seats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and because it's a lot of the same idea. You have your human in the vehicle, and you want to reduce their injury in the collision. So the idea is the more the force is reduced prior to that stage of the collision, you don't want them hitting that steering wheel, hitting the roof, hitting the windshield, all of those things. You want them staying where they need to be, and you want their internal pieces staying where they need to be. So all of those lovely squishy organs.
Squishy organs. We have a question from our chat, and that is, what is the appropriate age or weight for not needing a car seat?
So there's two answers to this. The legal minimum in Ontario to not require any kind of restraint in a seat, so that actually includes boosters, is 8 years old, 80 pounds, or 4'9". But ideally, you want to actually wait until they pass something called the 5-step test. And so this is a way of checking to make sure that the seatbelt fits them properly. It's an adult seatbelt. It's not meant for a child. Most kids are between 10 and 12. That does depend a little bit on both the vehicle and the size of the child. So if you're in, a little sedan, they might outgrow their booster or not need their booster a little bit earlier. If you're in, a big SUV, they might need it a little bit longer.
And this goes into another question. We suggest that even when people or children are old enough to be in a seatbelt without a booster or restraint, that we still keep them in the back seat until they're 14 years old,
yes.
13 or above 13, or however you want to word it. But 14 or older is really the threshold. It's not that it's illegal to be in the front seat, but it's safer to be away from that airbag. So we get this a lot. What do people who have two-seater vehicles that only have two seats? What do they do?
So there's a few options. One is, do you have another vehicle? That two-seater might be nice and fancy, and you want to take your kid for a ride in it, but that doesn't mean it's safe for them. If it really is the only option you have, there is a Transport Canada program to get authorization to remove the airbag for situations with children in car seats. It is expensive. You have to get pre-approval. They have to go in and remove the full airbag cartridge. It's not just, removing a fuse or unhooking a wire. And then once either the situation changes, so the child gets old enough, or you sell the vehicle, you actually then have to pay again for that airbag to be reconnected and re-added. Last quote I heard, it was about $2,000 just to get it removed.
That sounds suboptimal at best. Yeah. But now vehicles used to be able to have a key-operated disable switch. That's no longer legal.
So it's not necessarily that's no longer legal. In the States, they changed the regulation allowing it. And because we share a vehicle fleet with the States, most of our vehicles just don't have it available anymore.
So if it's there, it's legal, but I should rephrase, if you're ordering a new vehicle, you probably won't have that option available to you anymore. Yeah. And that's because whatever happens there dictates what we get here, and unfortunately it doesn't work anymore. So that's good stuff to know. I mean, in the past when I had a two-seater and wanted to go, I was told move the seat as far away from the airbag. That was the solution. And there's ways to work around, and will you get a ticket for it? And we're not even just talking about child restraints. We're talking about child, under the age of 14 sitting in the front seat. There are regulations when it comes to installing a car seat in the front seat near an airbag. because it won't work the way it's expected to or planned to. But you could legally take your child in the front seat. It just, again, may not be the safest option. These are great things. Now, what do we have a couple of messages. I just want to make sure I'm not forgetting anybody. Q made this is a good one. Will the TPS open installation clinic soon? We don't have a date. We'd very much like to. Auxiliary program, our auxiliary officers, of whom Amanda is a member of the program, is back in play. We're going to be doing that soon. Whether or not we can provide safe opportunities to hold clinics, we're still working on it, but it is something we very much want to reinstitute. So thanks, Sergeant Kraft. And sorry.
I have been missing those clinics. There are community options, technicians in the city, but we do want to get those clinics up and running as soon as we can here.
Now, Q made a comment about that picture, which I can throw back up on the screen for a second in case someone missed it. Why does that look like a dog harness? And it brings up the conversation about dog harnesses, about protecting not children, but our other, sometimes considered kids. That's very much like what we would see in a animal harness.
Yeah, it is. It's the same concept. Most dog harnesses on the market are designed to restrain, in the sense of stopping them from moving around the vehicle. Most harnesses, even a lot of the ones that say, crash tested, they're not actually designed to protect the animal. So there are only a few on the market that are actually designed to protect the animal in a collision, to keep them attached and safe. I know Sleepy Pod is one of the market originals. They actually designed a crash test program they created an animatronic dummy similar to the ones that are used with humans. A few others have now come out as kind of the testing and information has become more out there, but they're still the leaders really in that section.
And there's a lot of reasons why you'd want to do this. It's not just to protect the animal, which is obviously important, but it's to protect you. If that animal were to be on your lap, which is, by the way, illegal, you're crowding the driver, you can't do that. But if if in a collision that vehicle becomes trapped between you and the steering wheel, you and the airbag, what is it called? The deployment of said airbag could be fatal to you. You could end up with dog injected into your body. It's not a good thing. Yes. Additionally, your animal might end up being ejected from the vehicle if they're not even hurt from the collision, but you're left in a situation where you can't get out of the vehicle and the window's broken and they escape and run over into the highway and then get struck after the fact. You are preventing a ton of options and possibilities that are negative outcomes. You want to keep them safe, and you want to keep them in the back seat, just like kids. If the option is there in the back seat, they may whine a bit, they may not like it, but you can get used to them, or they can get used to being in the back seat, and you need to work at it. Safety doesn't always feel comfortable, but it is safety, and that's what we aim for. What are we looking at here? We get stuff on the screen, but it looks blurry.
Yeah. Some of those appear to be some of the different Sleepy Pod options. So there's both harnesses for bigger dogs, and then for cats and smaller dogs, there's actually containers is the word coming to mind, like little. They've got the roof, and it is designed to keep them secure.
Well, when Beverly from the Toronto Humane Society, joined us a number of weeks ago, she talked about the fact that she has a crate system that she puts in the back seat when transporting her dogs. And if you talk about the dog unit, the canine unit at Toronto Police, we have vehicles that are constructed specifically to have appropriate amount of air through and also keep them secure and safe in the event of a collision. Now, we've gone off and started talking about animals versus kids.
It's still passenger safety, though.
It is passenger safety, and it could be young animals, but it's not so much a summer heat situation right now, but since we're talking about transporting children and animals, leaving them in cars, bad. Even in cooler weather, you don't want to do it.
Yeah, and something you have to be aware, or people have to be aware of, is when you hear situations of children being left in cars, it's not always that the parent intentionally did it. There's a lot of brain fatigue that happens with having little ones. People, you're not necessarily getting the same amount of sleep, things like that, and you get into a bit of automation mode, where you think your partner has the kid because they always do. You drive to work, you get out, you're distracted. And so a lot of times what's recommended is to put something in the back seat with your little one that is part of your routine. So it's not something that's more important than your little one or something you're going to miss more than your little one. It's something that your routine is going to miss. So, if you always get out and the first thing you do is swipe your card to get in the door of your office, well, put the card in the back seat with them. Put your left shoe, put your phone, something that's you're going to notice very quickly because you're out of your routine now.
Yeah, I think that's really great. And we've never talked about this particular tip in previous episodes. You've been with us a number of times on our live. That's really, really good advice. So if your laptop bag comes with you and you can't go to work without it, put that right next to the car seat. We want to avoid tragedy because even if the weather isn't a problem, leaving them alone is a problem. And you talk about brain fatigue. Oh my goodness, when I had when I first became a dad, I can't say that I had a kid, but when I first became a dad, I was not sleeping well. And yeah, take me out of the routine. Even as most recently, the summertime, my routine was thrown off entirely when I was changing my shift to accommodate taking my kids to camp. Nothing went right. So I totally appreciate that, and I love the idea of building in that check that you're looking for something vital to you that you would not be able to. Let's say your swipe card to get into the office. Perfect example.
Yeah, and it's a lot of people, you'll see the comments on articles talking about this saying, how could you forget your child? And it's not a situation of forgetting your child, it's forgetting where they are. You think that they're somewhere else, you think that they're safe, your brain is just in that mode. And so you have to put those safeguards in place when that situation does come up.
I love it. Now, Brandon sent us a message and said, car seats are expensive. Is there a market for used car seats? Are used car seats safe? What can we talk about that?
So used car seats are not necessarily unsafe if you know their history. So, let's say my best friend has a little one. She had the infant seat that she used. And let's say I was having a little one. I know her. I know she hasn't been in a collision. I know she's treated it well. And I trust her that she's not going to give me something that's going to make my little one be unsafe. That person on Kijiji, you don't know them. You don't know the history of that seat, and you don't know if you can trust them. I've seen and heard of situations of people, picking up seats off the side of the road to sell, or seats out. I had somebody once pick up a seat out of a dumpster to sell it because what they see is, oh, look, it's a car seat, and I can get a couple $100 from this. They don't really care what happens once it's outside of their hands. And different people have different views on what is safe. Some people don't think expiries should exist or don't think that collision really makes a difference. So you don't know, you're trusting that stranger with your child's life.
There's a lot of things that go into making a car seat. For instance, the foam. Foam isn't just foam. That is foam designed to absorb shock. And if it becomes stale, for lack of a better term, where it becomes brittle and it ages, it no longer has the same absorption qualities as it did when it was designed. So that's something that age and why expiry dates occur or exist. Just like a motorcycle helmet. A 25-year-old motorcycle helmet may look great, may never have been dropped. However, it's garbage. And talking about dropping, when it's in a collision, a helmet gets dropped from on the floor, it's garbage. And so is a car seat. It's been involved in a collision.
One impact item, and some manufacturers will indicate what is a mild, which is okay, versus a severe one. But it's meant for one crash. It's a life-saving device. If you've had a collision, it has done its job by saving your child's life. You now need to replace it. That foam might not have been meant for multiple uses, depending on the type of foam that it's had. And really, if you use it after that, you're deciding, hey, I don't trust what the manufacturers decided. I'm going to put my child's life at risk by using this again.
That's the whole thing. What is it worth? And there are expensive car seats. There are less expensive car seats. What you invest in that is up to you. But when things go wrong, was it worth cutting cost measures? Was it worth using one after a collision? I know that when I was in a collision, and I was in one a few years ago, my insurance company replaced them at no cost. Now, I can't speak to what your policy will do, but contact your insurance company when you've been in a collision and tell them that you have car seats that were in there, whether there was a child sitting in them or not. You may need to replace that.
Yeah, and when it comes to cost, we have very high car seat standards in Canada, and every single seat on the market passes. So as a technician, there are seats that I regularly recommend that are $100. There are seats that I recommend that are, $600. That doesn't necessarily mean the $600 seat is safer. Now, in some circumstances, it might fit your vehicle better. It might be a better fit for your child. But that doesn't mean it's the only option out there. And by buying that $600 seat, maybe that isn't the seat that's going to fit your vehicle. And so now you've spent that $600 for what you think is the safest seat. But if it doesn't work, then it's not the safest.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. The one that I used, which I really like, and I will not endorse, because I can't, but it allowed easy installation with a particular seatbelt system, and I loved it. They had 3 models, and when I had to replace them, I was given the option of any of the 3. And the suggestion was, spend what you want, right? Buy the best one. Well, the top version had these extra pillows beside them. And as a result, no one could sit in the car seat in between. So I chose specifically to go the next level down because it would fit my vehicle. And it was exactly what I had purchased. So there was no move. It wasn't going down. It wasn't going up. And the biggest thing for me was like cup holders. It was creature comforts at that point. What was going to work for at the stage of my children were at, the ability to move with them. Was it adjustable? Could I keep them in it longer and remain safe? And that's something to consider because the bucket's got a short. Well, maybe we can walk through the different options.
Yeah. So the first stage a child's going to go into is a rear-facing seat. Now, there are a few options there. A lot of times what people go for is what's called a rear-facing only seat or a bucket seat. That's the seat where you have a base that stays in the car, and then you have a carrier that you pop on and off of the base, and this is the one that connects to the stroller. It's designed as a convenience item. You have the little one in, you put them in the seat in the house, you take them out, you clip it into the car, you get to the store, you take it out, clip it onto the stroller. And it's that convenience of being able to move it around without taking the baby in and out. It's not safer than another rear-facing seat, really just is that convenience. You also have rear-facing convertible seats. So this is a seat that starts rear-facing and then turns around to face forward as time goes on. You're going to need one of those anyway, because as your child outgrows that rear-facing only bucket seat, they're still going to need to rear face. The recommendation is to rear face as long as possible. We used to say a minimum of 2. Now that we have more information about how little ones grow and how their bones develop, we really want to get them as close to 4 as we possibly can for that spinal development, to make sure they're nice and strong before they turn for a forward-facing seat.
I was just going to say that I did exactly that. I went from the bucket, I went to a convertible, then I went to the full size seat that would then convert into a booster. So I covered the gamut without having to buy a seat at every stage. So even though I spent a little bit more money to have things that lasted 2 stages, they did everything I wanted them to do. I liked the features they offered, and again. They're still in use now. I think I can keep my children in them until they're like 110 pounds. But I wanted to talk about rear-facing, forward-facing, and we've talked about this before, but my uber-smart cousin Harrison is a doctor. He says, keep your kids in rear-facing as long as possible. In fact, he suggests 4 years.
Yeah, so 4 is now what's recommended as the kind of the minimum if you can get them there. It has to do with how their spines develop. So the best example I've found is for adults. The vertebrae in our spine are close together, and they're kind of well supported. So in a collision, when your head is pulled forward, the bones of your spine are supporting your vertebrae, or your spinal cord, sorry. Little ones, their bones are actually more cartilage than bone, and they're far further apart with more cartilage gaps. Cartilage is stretchier than bone. So when they're forward facing, their torso is held back and their head is being pulled forward, all of that force goes down their spine. When they're rear facing and they're being pushed that way, their head and spine is entirely supported and being pushed into the back of their seat. And so there's very, very little force being applied to their spine at that point.
You bring up a really good point, and many people don't realize and don't take time as drivers or passengers to adjust their own headrests. Headrests are also involved in life-saving. Many injuries that are fatal are based on someone's head snapping backwards. That headrest being properly adjusted could save your life.
Yeah, you need head support to the tops of your ears at minimum. And so I've seen, you walk around, and once you get into this, you kind of look at people's vehicles as you're walking through parking lots. And I've seen like driver's headrests that are being fully removed. In a collision, your head's going to snap back and there's nothing protecting it. all of that force is going to your spine, and it's not meant to handle that. So you have to do what you need to help protect your body in that situation.
So looking cool or setting it up for a movie shot where you remove your headrest so the camera guy can get behind you, not actually a safe maneuver. And a lot of people see it in the movies because that's what it's for. It's so that they can get a camera angle. It's not intended for driving. Now, Brandon threw up a stat. He says National Highway Traffic Safety Administration estimates 325 children under the age of 5 years are saved per year from car seats. It's amazing.
I'd say that's probably even a low statistic. Something that we've discovered is if you look at the statistics through the years, child fatalities have decreased exponentially as we get more information about car seats and things like that. And people pointed out, well, injuries have increased, but a lot of those injuries used to be fatalities. And so now, yes, the child is injured, but it would have been worse otherwise. And so the numbers that we're getting, it's really hard to judge, who was a mild injury, who may not have even gone to a doctor, who could have been a fatality otherwise.
It's amazing how technology continues to change, and I'm still waiting until I can, press a button and I transport my kids to school. But we'll see. That might be the safest, or not. I don't know. I saw the fly. Now, Brandon threw up a website with some information. I don't think we'll play it, but did you put that one on screen, Brandon?
Briefly,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a link there that maybe we'll put in the show notes. There's some good videos that Brandon is suggesting watching on this topic. You know what? This is all good stuff, and we continuously put out safety messaging surrounding child restraint safety, and we've had you on a number of times. We love it when you come and visit. It's great stuff. You're always a pleasure to have on the show. And let's wrap it up. But what would you want to leave people with a message? If there was one thing you could communicate, what's the number one thing about child safety?
Don't assume anything. So you don't want to assume that everything is okay without checking. There's videos. A lot of manufacturers are putting out videos now, but technicians are also doing it. Look into it. This is a product that you're trusting with your child's life. You want to make sure it's working properly. And when you think of the statistic that overall it's 75 to 90% of seats are either not installed or not being used correctly, the chances are there's something that's going on with yours, and you want to double check that.
And what I want to, you just triggered me. And two things. One, when I stopped vehicles as a officer on the road, I checked every car seat I saw. I checked to make sure the buckles were properly, affixed, that the straps were tight, that the center buckle was nipple height, that the car seat was actually attached to this. I can't tell you how many stops I made where I pushed on the car seat and fell over because it wasn't even attached. It was just sitting on the seat. Inexcusable, I should say, and not cool. Now, when a car seat is time to say goodbye, you're going to throw it out. It's been in a collision. My tip is destroy the straps. Cut them, remove them. Don't leave it there for someone to pick up the side of the road and sell it to somebody else and put their children's life at risk, or the person who they sell it to unknowingly. So I try and damage it purposefully so they can't be reused.
Yeah, the best one I've found is the strap that you pull to tighten the harness. If you cut and remove that, it's one of the very few pieces that manufacturers do not allow to be replaced. So if you cut just the shoulder straps, a lot of manufacturers do offer those as replacement part, but very, very few have that tightening strap as a replacement part.
Awesome. That's great. I remember you mentioning that before. I loved it then. I forgot all about it. I love it again now. Thank you so much, Amanda. Really appreciate the time that you're taking, because you're now in school full time. You're doing the whole paramedic thing. Really excited for you, and I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to spend with us. So thank you again.
Always love coming on.
And for those who are watching us on one of the many platforms we're currently streaming onto, you can also follow us on Twitter. We're at Traffic Services. You can get us at Traffic Services Toronto which is our Instagram handle. You can get us on YouTube by searching Traffic Services Toronto Police. It's a mouthful. They don't have any little symbol sign. It bothers me. Now, TikTok is where we spend the most amount of time, and we have had a tremendous amount of success. We're just at 179,000 followers at Traffic Services on TikTok. We go live most weekdays. I say most weekdays because we're changing our shift schedule a little bit, but most weekdays from 9 a.m. till 10 a.m., where we answer your traffic questions live, and someone's being paged. And it is awesome. Spend some time with us there, and maybe we'll get you doing a TikTok with us soon.
Well, I'm allowed to come back and station now, so hopefully we can make that happen.
I'd love it. Awesome. Well, you have a wonderful day. Hopefully you don't get rained on for everyone else watching. Thanks for spending time with us. If you do have questions, you can always send us messages, comments on our socials. You can also ask us in our Q&A section or direct message. Wherever you want to reach out, we are happy to respond. So with that, have a great day, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye, everyone.